Hello, India. It's a pleasure to see all of you again for another episode of the Walking Wicket podcast, brought to you in a very, very nice garden to change the scene. It's actually hot in England for a change, but not as hot as what we're talking about today. On the agenda today, we got a bit of Trent Bridge, and then we're going to talk a tiny bit about the third test and India coming up. But yeah, as I said, thank you very much, India. You're basically the only people who watch this shit, so thank you, first of all. Joe, Trent Bridge, thoughts?
Well, I mean, it was spectacular, wasn't it? It was truly one of the finest test matches we've seen. I think Stokes said on an interview after the game, it was his most proud win in England shirt. You know, it topped the World Cup final of 2019 and that Headingley test of 2019 as well, which I think speaks absolute wonders for that test match. But most importantly, we've got to talk about young Johnny Bairstow. I mean, that was one of the most sexual knocks I've ever seen in my life. It's just pure brutality. It's just special. It's very special.
It was just so brutal. Like he came in after tea, 40 not out, 160 to win. New Zealand had a sniff. The skeleton closet people had a sniff. Then him and Stokes. Well, to be fair, New Zealand's bowling tactics were honestly terrible.
It was a short boundary at Trent Bridge. It's like 60 meters, and they're just bowling short balls to Johnny Bairstow, where he's just putting them all off his dick. Like I don't think I've seen innings more off their dick than that innings of Johnny Bairstow. Everything was just.
Also, I've never seen an innings more off their hip. Because fucking Johnny Bairstow, every single one of his shots went in the same 20-degree diameter of the ground. Like those people were taking a pounding, just like the New Zealand bowlers. Apart from Bolt actually had quite a good game.
He did have a good game. I mean, in that test match, there were a lot of contenders for man of the match. I mean, what was it? That was Blundell century, Mitchell century, Root century, Pope century, Bairstow, Bolt Pfeiffer, and obviously Bairstow got man of the match for that, which goes without saying. But I'll raise another point. Is Daryl Mitchell the worst player in the world to get to back-to-back hundreds?
Oof. That's a good question, but then you got to realise that Burns has scored 3 test tons as well in 40 tests.
It's a good note.
Although that's kind of got nothing to do with what you just said. However, Mitchell, he's got a very, very sound technique. To be honest, at the moment, I'd have him in the team instead of Williamson. Williamson looks about in form as our main man, as main man Zach Crawley, who should be dropped, by the way. But Mitchell, no, I don't think he's the worst. I think maybe Steve Smith's probably a bit worse than him at the moment. Yeah, he scored quite a few back-to-back tons, but now look at him, can't even break 30s.
But I just sort of find with Daryl Mitchell, like in that first innings, he was dropped on one by Root, absolute sitter. And but I've always find whenever he's in, we've got a sniff. Like I don't think even when he's on 190, I still feel like any ball could get him out. I don't know why. He's got nice technique as well, but there's just something about the way he looks and the way he sort of stands there. It's quite Jack Leach-esque.
Yeah.
Whereas it just looks so unsturdy, whilst also looking assured at the same time. It's a weird balance, but.
Yeah, I agree with you because actually, when I see Trent Bolt bat, I'm thinking, how the fuck are we getting this man out? Because I don't understand because he leaves 7 stumps open, and he has no idea where his off stump is, and yet he's kind of like he gets people under his spell of you will bowl short. So, which is the only way you cannot get me out.
Yeah.
And it's proved, like Stokes, to be fair, we don't have the biggest amount of brain cells in the England bowling attack, but even Stokes, he's very experienced because bowling at his head, and he's got these weird fucking dislocated forearms, which means he can hit a ball 5 meters down, leg over extra cover, which makes no sense. So, yeah, I would agree with you. When Bolt comes in, I'm almost more scared.
Yeah,
than Mitchell.
For sure, because he can take game away from you as well.
Yeah.
Bolt can get like 30 off 10, whereas Daryl Mitchell will just plod along at about 110. I mean, still pretty good in a test match, but yeah, it's an interesting one.
You've seen the stats of Bolt, highest scoring number 11 now, overtaking Burnley Lara.
Jimmy.
Which is fair enough because like Jimmy's batting is so bad, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I do feel quite sorry for number 11s, especially Jimmy and Bolt, because you always have to like shake the hands of the opposition after you've lost a test match. So Bolt's out there high scoring with his 20 off 9 with his dislocated left hand backhand off over cover, and he still has to go and shake bloody Matt Potts' hand at the end of the game.
Pottsy
with 2 for 224 in the test match.
Yeah, no, it's peculiar. But I'll raise another point. So that was a fantastic test match. We can all agree on that. But what did you make of that pitch? Because it did not deteriorate like one bit throughout the entire game. I know in the third innings, New Zealand got bowled out forwards at like 280. But I mean, we didn't even bowl particularly well. It was just them being shit. But 500 plays 500. Are you a fan of that? Is that cricket to you?
Oh, I fucking love it. I love it because what was great was that the pitch was. You know when you get pitches which are so flat, like in the Arabias, where you can grind out 500. But in England, the 500 pitches tend to be like you can just flash it. The outfield is so quick. The bowling just seems so mediocre that you end up going a 5 and over anyway. It's like I compare it to the Wedgwood wickets. In the fact that it comes onto the bat so nicely that you just have to get a tiny bit of timing and it just runs away. It doesn't matter where the fielders are. So I'd say bring it on. I love 500 because we always say, England batsmen don't get centuries. Well, no one really gets centuries in England. Yeah. If Daryl Mitchell's getting 2 tons, then I'm all for it. Mitchell getting tons is actually good.
See, I'm going to have to disagree with you actually because I sort of think that, Test cricket for me is more of a 300 plays 300, chasing 200 in the last innings kind of thing. I mean, yeah, obviously that Test match was great and it was a good advert for Test cricket, but yeah, I do like a bit more in it for the bowlers. I'm a batsman myself as well. I do love it. I'm a bit of a flat track bully, but yeah, I like it when there's a little bit in it for the bowlers. Just because watching England bowl to New Zealand on that, like winning the toss, bowl first, get hit for 580. I mean, I'm watching like Potts just toil away, and it was just doing fuck all. And I was like, Jesus, this is so boring. And then all that gets forgotten when England back, because then we do well, and everyone's like, oh, it's a great pitch. But I'm not too sure about it personally.
I almost disagree with every single word you just said there. You're such a millennial. You're the sort of person who can't watch the TV for more than 5 minutes and is scrolling TikToks. And you're the sort of person who likes Love Island. Because what Test cricket needs is you need 500, because that means it lasts 5 days. And as long as the 500s are 3.5 and over, which it will be if you have a good middle order. But because England's batting up is so attacking anyway, we got 400 in a day. So I'd rather have more runs and maybe more chances of draws than Test matches lasting 3 days with no one getting runs. It's so one-sided. And I'm all for the Moeen Ali 70s, and I'm all for the Ben Stokes doing well, but I love top order runs. It makes me horny.
Finally, something we can agree on there. Yeah, I mean, should we move on to top order runs? I think we've got to talk about Ollie Pope because he's been under a lot of scrutiny recently, and he's been boosted up the odds number 3. Everyone was a bit skeptical about it, but my oh my, that was one of the most hot hundreds I've ever seen in my life. Like tops any of the top Joe Root. I mean, Root's 100 was inevitable and amazing, but I'm a bit bored of talking about him now. He's just done so well for so long that it's a bit much. It's nice to see some fresh, young, immature, ginger-looking face getting the runs. And my oh my, was it nice. It was just so controlled and just beautiful to watch.
Measured, scrumptious, not tumultuous.
Right.
His innings was just so unfraught with danger, which is so unlike Ollie Pope, because Ollie Pope just looks like, I think, quoting some of the Aussies, like a cat on a hot tin roof. This time he was a cat that finally jumped off the tin roof and onto a serene pavement where he could just, well, to be honest, the pitch was like a pavement the way he was batting as well. But it was just so easy for him. Nothing looked like getting him out. All his troubles outside off stump just seemed to go away. And that's the sign of a really class player who could come back from being as shit as he has been for the last 3 years. I always thought dropping him, to be honest, sending him off to South Africa, actually doing a bit of a trade, get some more South Africans like Peterson, send them off to South Africa. But all good for him, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely chuffed for him. But so we talk about informed players making runs such as Ollie Pope. Should we talk about, out of form players making runs? Should we talk about out of form players staying out of form, i.e. Zach Crawley? He's made, what was it, a total of 6 runs in 2 innings on the flattest deck England's ever produced?
In the words of Claude, RIP, it's time to go. It's time to go, unfortunately, because, you know, the way he gets out, he stands very upright. And what Australian batsmen would do is you leave on length, but Crawley can't leave on length. He plays at everything. So, of course, if Bolt gets one to move across and bounce and his bat's there, there's every chance he's going to nick it. And it's pretty obvious how to get him out now anyway. And because they've given up trying to bowl full to him because he's so good on the front foot.
Yeah.
But Crawley, I'm afraid he served his purpose like the many other Coates before him, naming Robson as an example, lied. I think it's time to get the 25th opening partner since Alistair Cook, and that's Ben Compton.
Ben Compton.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So just on openers as well, should we talk about the evolution of Alex Lees as a player? Because, I mean, he's made, what did he make, 40 and 60 odd? I mean, it's not great numbers, but it's certainly an improvement. But it was more the manner in which he played was something completely new from what we've seen of him in the past. Like in West Indies, watching him stodge it out all day was like the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. Doesn't even look good while he's doing it. But this time round, it was genuinely really good to watch, and like some beautiful, beautiful shots in there. Springing to mind, it was that start of that second innings, the first over from Trent Boult. 2 boundaries the first 2 balls. When have we ever seen that before from one of our openers? And they're both really nice shots. So I think that's really nice that we've seen Alex Lees come out of his comfort zone a bit. He looks like more of a sort of someone who should be there, I suppose, and he deserves to be there. But yeah, he looks assured at the international level now, and I think he's earned his place in the side for the rest of the summer at least. Maybe even further on, seeing how he does.
Yeah, I think going back to the condom analogy we had a few weeks ago, is, you know, we've been looking for a secure Durex ever since. You know, when Burns actually looked good that song, we thought we'd found one, but then it slipped away, rather ironically. But this time, those 2 forwards were so secure that I think we finally found our condom for the English team.
Yeah.
I think Root moving down to number 4, I think that's a settled. No, that's settled. But the top 3, Pope, he's very arrogant, and you don't know how he's going to do. But I feel like that's good now. But Lees, we see someone always got his little 50s, 60s, see off the new ball. Crawley is the opposite. Crawley is a chocolate teapot. Lees is a tea I very much like to drink.